while making our event handler. And when we come back, look at that. Now we see it's nice and green. So our tap gesture recognizer is done. What's next? We need to bind the search bar's text property. So for that, let's actually come back up here. And we'll say that the text uses a binding, and that's going to be search bar text. Now, one big difference here is we don't have to specify the getter and the setter. So it's a little bit simpler, but also it means we don't have the flexibility if we want the setter to do something a little different, but that's okay. The other thing that I don't love with XAML is these bindings use reflection when they fire. So it's just going to use this string search bar text to call iNotify property changed, and then iNotify property change has to use reflection to figure out what properties exist in the view model that this is actually referencing. Whereas by us using these functions in C#, we're actually pointing to the actual property. Everything's type safe. There's no reflection needed because it can just execute this getter and execute this setter. But I digress. Let's do a binding for is enabled. Binding to is search bar enabled. Okay, so that's it for the header. Now we add in our footer, view.footer, and our footer is going to be a label. Let's see, this label has text that says .NET MAUI from 0 to hero, because that's what we're doing today. Another app theme color binding, which we'll circle back to, but I do see padding equals 8, but only for the left padding. So the way we do this in XAML, 8, 0, 0, 0. That means the left padding is 8, the top, the right, and the bottom are all 0. Super intuitive. Let's see, the font size should be 10, horizontal text alignment, center, vertical text alignment, center. Thing needs to be centered, so horizontal alignment center, vertical alignment center. Oh, so we got our footer complete. I see selection mode single, so let's add that up here for our collection view. Okay, I also see we need a item template. So let's do that by saying collection view.item template. And then here, let's specify hello Maui libraries data template. That looks good. And then we have some bindings. All right, so selected item property. So let's bind that here. So selected item, binding to selected item in the view model. Beautiful. Selection change command, and that's going to be binding to selection change command in the view model. And then item source property will be binding to Maui libraries in the view model. And that looks good. Okay, and then refresh view has some bindings. So let's add these in up here. So command for our refresh view will be bound to refresh command in our view model, and is refreshing will be bound to is refreshing in our view model. Good, good, good. And then I also see we have some margins to add. So let's pop those in. So margin equals 12, 24, 12, 0. Okay, so refresh view looks good. We do want to copy over this pop-up code into our new code behind for details page. And of course, bring in the community toolkit namespace. And yes, this pop-up can be created also in XAML, but we'll skip that for now. The intent behind converting our C# pages to XAML was more to focus on the bindings and a couple weird things like how we have search bar behavior down here, and all this fun stuff. So let's do one more check. I think we've got everything here. We got our refresh view, our collection view, our header, our footer. We haven't done the app theme color bindings yet, but let's go ahead and run this and see how it looks. Okay, so there's our app. Surprisingly doesn't look too bad, given the fact that we totally ignored our app theme color bindings. But yeah, just looking at it at a glance, everything looks right. We've got our search bar, we've got our collection view. If I do a pull to refresh, yep, refresh view triggers. Look at that. Sharpenator tabs gets added. So I see some functionalities working. Let's see if I double tap. Yeah, .NET MAUI rules because I double tap the search bar. Let's go. All right. Search bar functionality, Sentry, or just S. Actually, that worked. It's not giving me a lot of time to type. Oh, because I said the typing time threshold's 100. That should have been 1,000 because that's in milliseconds. So I only gave myself 100 milliseconds. Yeah, I can't type that fast. Okay, but next time we compile it, it'll be 1,000. But all that logic looks good. I can tap. We see the welcome pop-up come back, even though we didn't want it. Look at that. I forgot to remove our back button, but I can actually tap it. It still works as a back button. Everything looks great. So let's jump back to the code, and I'll show you really quickly how to do app theme bindings. And then that's it. We have wrapped up the course on building our first .NET MAUI app together. Okay, so last things last, app theme color bindings. How does this work in XAML? Well, this first one is we're binding it to the content page. So here in our content page, we have a background color property. And instead of just typing in a color like light blue, we could totally do that. But here we want to react to whether the app is in light mode or dark mode. So we can say app theme binding. And then if I say light blue, and then I say, you know what, I should probably tell it. When we're in light mode, light blue. And then when we're in dark mode, we're going to use this hex value. And because everything is already strings in XAML, we can just plunk in that hex view right there, or hex view, hex color, hex string. So many different words other than hex view. And let's wrap this up. Let's do the rest of our app theme color binding. So search bar down here. Cool. So search bar text color, again, app theme binding. So when we're in light mode, color stop. Not color stop black, just black. That's right. Little shortcut in XAML. And then when we're in dark mode, light gray, GRAY. What else? Theme color binding. And the footer, of course. Who can forget about the footer? Text color, app theme binding, light mode is this hex value. Dark mode, dark gray, GREY, not AY. Ironically, both are valid in English, although I'm not sure if .NET MAUI, let's see, AY? Hey, look at that. .NET MAUI supports both spellings. Cool. All right, so that's it. Those are our last app theme color bindings, and we just do that by referencing app theme binding. And again, what's really cool about this is whatever we put here for light will be what's displayed when the app is in light mode, and whatever we put here in dark gets displayed when the app's in dark mode. So let's run it one last time to see our awesome app. Okay, so the app launched. It already looks a million times better. And let's see. For example, our text in the search bar text color should either be black or light gray. So if I search for Sentry, it's clearly a light gray. It looks white on the background. And we fixed that bug where our stop typing time threshold is now 1,000 milliseconds instead of 100 milliseconds. So everything's looking great.